Dark Hero 2 is a content creator that was able to go over to Capcom's headquarters and play this alongside other YouTubers. But I was going through his timestamps and kind of wanted to notate the things he was talking about with dual blades. Dual blades, damage-wise, feels weird. And I mean, I'm a newcomer to Monster Hunter, so I'm learning all this all at once. But apparently, dual blades is a elemental-based weapon. And in the beta, you don't have any access to any of that. So you're not really seeing the full potential damage-wise for dual blades. So it is a little bit underpowered in the beta because of that. And once, you know, you get the full game, you'll be able to see the full damage of it. And he said as much here for his video. And by the way, I'm not going to go through all of these. I'm going to be linking down below Dark Hero's video for you guys to go ahead and check it out. He put this together. He did a fantastic job. And yeah, you guys should totally check it out and give him a comment, drop a like, and maybe check out his channel. He has a bunch of like Monster Hunter content in the works. So I think he'll definitely be a really, really cool channel to follow in regards to that.
Now, I do want to touch on the dual blades very quickly because even though they were not mentioned in the pre-launch community update as one of the weapons that would receive massive changes, I think I should mention that the dual blades were a lot more powerful this time around. And that is quite simple because in the beta we only had access to raw damage dual blades, which naturally, dual blades being a weapon that is very much suited to dealing elemental damage and applying status effects. Now that I was actually able to craft different weapons and I played around with the Lalabarina dual blades as well as the Chemitrist dual blades, so that is paralysis and fire.
He's missing the wound.
way better than they did in the beta test. And this is coming from someone that already loved the way that dual blades felt.
Always gotta let it rip, chat.
And from what I played at Capcom, fighting against Congalala, Lalabarina, Uthduna, Nursilla, and Rompompolo, I think that most of them were weak or
bro, they had 5 hours with the game.
And so I was just outputting a crazy amount of damage while having a ton of iframes. And when I used the Lalabarina dual blades, I paralyzed Congalala like 4 different times. So yeah, they definitely felt amazing, and I think it's worth mentioning.
So that's also like part of an elemental thing, is like causing paralysis with the dual blades. That's gonna be fun. Holy shit, I can't wait to get my hands on this full ass game. So dual blades is going to be still like my thing. Like I love the way, I love how flashy it is, and the combat and like the fluidity of like the speed and being defensive and procking the precision. So if you get the perfect dodge, you go into your you get that buff, the 12-second buff that increases your damage, your speed overall. And just like, I want to dive deeper into the weapon. Obviously when we get the full game, we'll be able to. But not only that, gun lance and fucking longsword both look really great. The way the gun lance works, from what I understand, there's like different types of shells or different types of ammo that you can use. So it kind of like, you're only using the normal gun lance in this beta, but there will be different varieties that you can access. So it will be a very different functioning weapon for the most part, depending on the builds.
The only real difference there was in this build is that you had more shelling types available to play with. And one note in particular is that one of the gun lances said something along the lines of weaker shelling, which I cannot show it to you. We aren't allowed to show any menus or crafting or any of that kind of stuff, but that's just hilarious.
Bro,
now I want to talk about
Final Fantasy VIII fans are gonna love gun lance, bro. It's basically a big ass gun blade. That's exactly what it is with the shield. So gun lance, I still got to learn quite a few things, but I've seen a rotation that a lot of people are kind of doing over and over again with it that seems to be pretty foolproof. I have seen some people complaining about gun lance in particular, saying that it's a little bit too busted, but I mean, the mobility is pretty low for that weapon, and you're significantly slower than everybody else. So I think that the damage trade-off, especially with charging up moves, is kind of in a way balanced, but it's still way too early to like say like, yo, nerf this, nerf that, or whatever. Capcom already have their plans for like what they're gonna do with the bow, what they're gonna do with other weapons. I get that, but it seems like it's in a pretty good spot, and I'm kind of just saying that because I want to like abuse gun lance. Shout out to Instant Gaming for sponsoring us with this, but Monster Hunter Wilds with our link for $57 instead of $70 right now. You can get the deluxe edition for $74 instead of $90 right now. And you can get the premium deluxe edition for $90 instead of $110. Take full advantage of this, man. This discount is insane. You get a code that you can put into your Steam and access to the full game. Instant Gaming has been sponsoring the channel for quite some time now, and we really love their products and the way that they handle this stuff, the discounts in general. I mean, it makes gaming a whole lot more affordable, especially nowadays with AAA games. The prices are like spiking. I mean, look at Metal Gear Solid Delta, bro. Delta is $70. I know a lot of people are probably not going to be happy about that. I totally understand, but Instant Gaming is such a really clutch website. They do a really fantastic job helping us have this very expensive hobby of gaming be a little bit easier to navigate. Bow and gun, bow bros, bows. All right, let's check out the bow.
And I also want to talk about the bow, as it was one weapon that was stated to be nerfed. They changed the bow by effectively toning down the tracer shots, which is the new thing that you can attach to the monsters and then shoot them to deal more damage. And to balance that, they have increased the damage of pretty much everything else. And honestly, I like this change, but I can see some people disliking it, as you are kind of taking away some of the special novelty that you get on this weapon. Now that said, the second change that the bow received is one I didn't in particular like a whole lot. Now I want to disclose that I only did a single hunt with the bow, but from my experience, the way that they changed
it looks so aggressive,
so that whenever you are locked onto a monster with focus mode, to perform the focus strike, that is locking onto the different wounds, they have put a little bit of a delay in between them to where you can't exactly lock onto all of them in an instant like you could before, and it feels a little bit awkward in my opinion. Maybe it's not because I haven't played bow as much as I used to in Rise and especially Iceborne, but I think that
the spider behind him got hit.
Contrast between what you are able to do now in the beta test compared to how the focus strike with the bow works in the build that I played with. I'm very interested in seeing how everyone is going to feel about this, but that was pretty much the only change out of everything that I played with where I was like, I just don't like it very much. Now unfortunately, given the limit,
I will say that I can see from the perspective of Capcom, they're trying to make bow more of a team player, whereas before it could kind of have a selfish playstyle in a way by just popping all the wounds. Like say somebody jumped on the back, right? And they're jumping on the back of the enemy and they created like 4 wounds or 3 wounds or whatever. And before you can even get off to attack it or like pop one of them for yourself to kind of get your gauges up or like increase your damage in whichever way that you can, the bow users would technically be able to pop all of that immediately. And I think speedrun wise, people have been showing like bows are ahead of everybody else by like 2 minutes, so it's kind of nutty in that way. I think that's a pretty cool class. And like, oh, he jumped right into longsword, so let's actually check out longsword while we're at it.
Reasons. One in particular is that we actually had access to the quick sheath skill in this build of the game through an armor set, and my fellow content creator
I saw Dear Gamer put out a video talking about that,
between not having quick sheath and having quick sheath level 3, which is what you will be seeing on screen, and as you can see, it is a huge difference. So it looks like Capcom followed the same route as Monster Enterprise, making quick sheath a pretty powerful skill that is definitely gonna have a big impact for longsword hunters and is likely going to be on every single one of their builds. Now the other thing about the longsword is that while it wasn't directly stated as being a weapon that would be affected by these massive changes in the pre-launch community update, there was a statement, I believe by Yuya Tokuda-san, that said something along the lines of they were aiming to nerf that weapon along with the bow, which I'll talk about in a moment. And honestly, from my experience and everyone that I talked to, we didn't really feel any nerfs to the weapon, so maybe it was nerfed, but we just didn't feel it. Maybe is going to be nerfed later on, or maybe the nerf just is
this weapon is so stylish.
It's the type of thing where it's very hard to test, especially if you don't have the exact numbers, but if they actually nerfed the weapon in the build that I played, I honestly didn't feel it. Longsword was still quite powerful and a lot of fun, and performs just about as you would expect. The hammer was still the same bonk stick that we all know and love, so there—
bonk stick! Okay, yeah, longsword. Oh man, that weapon is just so damn stylish. And on top of that, quick sheathing, right? I don't really know too much about that, but obviously it's gonna be a good thing being able to quickly sheath and then counter in that way, and also draw back on your offense. Translating basically defense into offense, that's always a positive, right? The cool thing that I'm really looking forward to is whether or not that crazy spirit charge cancel is going to be even better or even easier with the charge level 3 cancel that they have right there. So that's going to be interesting to play around with and navigate depending on the different like gear types that you're going to be running and how often you're going to want to be trying to go for that spirit sheath cancel. I think it's spirit sheath cancel, but that weapon it makes it look even crazier. It's not easy to pull off, but if you can get used to it, man, it can be pretty damn busted. 30% faster sheathing speed, basically. At least it was in Rise. Cool. But yeah, so check out Dark Hero's video posted down below. Those are the changes to the weapons that I'm very much looking forward to, but I'll be linking their video so you guys can go through and check it out. So major shout outs to them for putting this together.